Hello, everybody. Welcome to my live Q&A session. Today is Saturday, December 7th. December already? December 7th, 2019, in case you're watching this in the future or listening to it on the next podcast episode. Welcome, everybody. So let's just get started into the questions. Let's make sure we have Stream Health. It says excellent. That's awesome. So what I'm going to do is answer a few questions to get started here, and hopefully we'll sort of line up some questions as we move along. So last time I had a little bit of a sound issue. It doesn't look like I have that problem now, and I might even be able to give you a bit of a tour of what I offer. I'm just trying to help at this point. Recently, I just began to realize that I would have a business. You try and you see if the people are interested, and looks like people are interested, and looks like I will have a business. All I'm selling right now is, let me show you what I'm selling. Just give you the tour. So looks like I got a little bit better technically at some of the stuff that I'm doing. So I am showing you my web page as it would look from a desktop. It's a little bit different on a smartphone or smart device. This row of menus becomes actually just a little button that you press, and that expands into showing my about page. This is where you find all my articles. If you click on it, you would see these different categories. Casinos, where I review casinos that I visit and figure out what works. Learning, this is some of the slots history and other aspects of our gaming industry of slots. Reviews, like my reviewing of the couple of the primary slots manufacturers, but also the casino reviews, everything that I basically review. Strategies, my 7 strategies, as well as some of the other bits and pieces that go into strategies you can find there. And then I've recently started a section on tribal gaming because I had more than just a couple articles on that. So if I were to go to strategies, before I do that, I also want to point out that there's this main section here, Learn to Win at slot machines. Each one of these is a page. This is where you'd want to start. If you don't know who Professor Slots is, John Friedel, myself, you would go to this article, and I encourage you. These are the sequence that I prefer you get started, so we all sort of speak the same language. Then I have a posting schedule and where am I, like Saturdays at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Up here, you'll see this a few places. It's get my free report. So this is my free sign up. Top 7 online resources. So if I were to click on that, you would come to here and you would get my free report, which reveals the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top tier slot machine casino gambler. So all I'm looking for is your first name, your email, and then you'll be able to download the report. I have a warning. Looks like I might be okay. I always have to keep an eye on Stream Health. I've dropped from excellent to good. I guess that's good. And people are starting to show up, which is wonderful. So I wanted to definitely show you that. What else did I want to show you? See, that's the subscribe button. That if you see any of this green button, get my free report revealing, you'll get that report by clicking here. Now, back to the main page, and this is for those who are just joining. I'm trying to give a tour of kind of what I have as resources for slots enthusiasts. Those of you who are listening later on the podcast, basically I've gone to professorslots.com and I'm showing the main page. I went through the menus at the top very briefly. This is a video, almost my first YouTube video, me wearing my Professor Slots outfit. And this is about 2 minutes of me just sort of talking about who I am. I won't go through that. Podcasts are available. I don't know why I don't just put everywhere. Everywhere you can find podcasts, this is where you'll find it. But things like Spotify and Pandora and other places, SoundCloud, are a little less usual, but the Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts cover a lot. The last 5 episodes. Then I have just the last 6 articles that I wrote, and I'll get through this in just a moment. I've been doing 2 podcasts per weekend now for a little bit. So last weekend, the weekend before this weekend will also be 2. As soon as I finish writing my next article. I just so you know first, I went to Kansas City, and I went to Harrah's, North Kansas City. Anybody have a comment? Anybody want to comment about having been to, this is the Missouri side, Kansas City, Missouri, Harrah's, North Kansas City. I'm writing an article on that based on my trip, came back yesterday. And then down towards the bottom is just my contact information, other stuff. But if you click on this, you might find this interesting. It's ABC Channel 27, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. It's an evening news report where we spent a while to get this scheduled onto the evening news in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. In that town, they only have one casino, Penn National, which is owned by Hollywood. And it's been there for a number of years, but the reporter... I take this approach of business practices and taking advantage of casino business practices, or even pointing out, a lot of people don't understand that there's a payout return, and some of you do, some of you may not have heard of that. But I talk about that with them, and they were shocked to actually go to the state website for the Gaming Commission and find out that, it was 92% return at the casino that first year it was open, but the second year it dropped, and then, for the last 10 years or so, it hasn't been above 90%. How does that work? And, but if you're up at another place in Pennsylvania where there's many casinos like Philadelphia, they all are a lot more competitive. So that's a tour. If you want to go here, any page that you go to would have this bar over on the side where you can share to your Facebook site, your Twitter site, and you can share that article. And almost done with the tour here. So this is my most recent article, which isn't a podcast. This is a very long article. On the side here is something called a sidebar. If you're looking at it on a smartphone, it's actually at the bottom. Again, the free report, my top 5 most popular slots articles according to my analytics. Again, some of the stuff about the podcast. This is a link to my YouTube channel. You know how to find that because you're here. Or those of you who are live. This is my book on Amazon, and here's a few of my recommendations for the American Casino Guide and some of these gambling wallets, which I talk about on someplace else. For those of you who might be interested in buying the book, it is sort of the December selling season, the sort of holiday gift season. You can get it currently as a Kindle and a paperback versions, so an ebook and a paperback version, but I'm about half done editing the audiobook for Audible, also owned by Amazon. So there is the description, and this is what the cover looks like, and it's called Learning to Win, How to Make a Profit at Slot Machine Casino Gambling. I'm sure you can find it on Amazon if you go looking for it, or you just go to any of my web pages, and except the main one, and it'll be my slots book is over here on the side. Okay. That is a tour of what I have available. I also have Facebook groups, one for every state, and then one sort of like for the United States or the world, really, Professor Slots Enthusiasts, or you can just say your state, then Slot Machine Casino Gambling, and you'll find your state. If you sign up to get my free report, you'll get signed up to my weekly, looks like I'm going to be going to weekly, just letting you know what I've put out that I think is valuable for you, emails Saturday mornings, and that'll have a list of the different, a link directly to each state. Facebook group, private. and that's growing. Something I started about a month and a half ago. So looking at the stream health, I'm back to being excellent, wonderful. I had a little warning for a moment there. So there are a few questions that are coming in. Chuck says, this is more of a comment, but I'm starting to realize that your take on the business aspect is pretty much right on. Last Friday, and thank you, Chuck. I thought so. Last Friday and Saturday, Thanksgiving weekend, they had some bad winter weather. And then last night, Sammy Kershaw, a country music star, canceled his show, I guess due to the bad winter weather. And the machines were in serious take mode. When you have these special events, either, an annual holiday, Derby Day, it doesn't have to be a holiday, it can be just a big event, a car giveaway, which they've been promoting for a month or more. Any of these things, you have to look at it and say, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing for payout returns? Because I'm trying to tell you, check. Your casino may say it's a bad thing, but it isn't always a bad thing. But it really, if you just check for any of these events, then once you find out what the casino does for one event, you know what they do for all events. And that's easy enough to check. Requires a little bit of patience. And what I'm trying to do is go to casinos and figure it out. But honestly, you guys are the boots on the ground, right? You go to your casino. I couldn't possibly go to your casino as much as you are going to your casino. Well, unless it's Miami Valley Gaming right down the road from where I live. But even then, when I go to another casino, like I went to Harrah's North, Kansas City, on Thursday night, Friday morning, stayed the night at their hotel, and I'm writing an article on this, should be out, I hope, later today, possibly tomorrow, if all goes well, with, computer working and all that. If I go to a casino to do a review, I can only check a certain number of my winning strategies to see if that casino does that winning strategy. Again, I can't make you more lucky. I can point out what the casino is doing and how to take advantage of that business practice. Will they institute that business practice? Well, there's some that are very common and some that are a little bit less common, but you just check them. I try to tell people, I'm not trying to, my 7 strategies plus more, 7 strategies, one of them might work at your casino, and just check them. And I'll even tell you which one's most likely and which one's least likely. And the one that's most likely is like you win a lot, more often, but not as much, and then you sort of have to go home because that's it. This is my 5-pull method, where you're trying to, they want you to win a little when you first sit down, so why not stop playing and move to the next machine? Business practice, right? So you're taking advantage of their business practice. If you do this in the high limit room, which is where I learned it, you would go through all the machines before half an hour has gone by, and you're done. You go home. Doesn't make for a long playing session, but what those casinos that have that, I was winning hand pays. I wanted to stay longer, but that's not how that's winning strategy works. So some of these winning strategies, like progressive slot machines and tracking what the progressive jackpot is, and over, it could be months. But then you begin to get an idea. You see what the top jackpot is for that collection of progressive slot machines, and it went down. Well, that's because somebody won somewhere. It might. The extent of the progressive jackpot is also another question. I have an article on this. Just look under strategies. Oh, my goodness. So that's all I wanted to. Hello again. So you saw that screen for a little while, and so that was a tour of my stuff. So I've been talking here a little bit about reviewing casinos and trying out the different strategies to see if that casino is using the business strategy on which that strategy, the business practice that strategy is trying to take advantage of, and maybe that casino does, maybe that casino doesn't. Once you find out, then you know what to do there, and that's basically my approach. And I am waiting for, according to, I see. All right. Should be updating momentarily to have me on the screen again. Come on. You can update. There I am. All right, so that was Chuck, and now I am looking at greener pastures. Greektown's rewards are being turned over to my choice. Is this good or bad? There's several things that could be going on that you could take advantage of. Let's say that you are pretty high up in the Greektown awards, and please check with them. They may automatically do this, but even if you aren't high up in the rewards, and you go to Greektown is a portion of Detroit, for those who don't know, in Michigan, and if you go to a new casino that you haven't been to before, and you have like a top tier, second to the top tier, whatever tier you have in your rewards program, wherever you may be, some other casino, tell them. I mean, if you're the lowest level, it probably won't help, but if you are up, they will give you a higher tier level than you would be if you just started from scratch. So if you are going to go to the Greektown casinos, now they take my choice. So those of you who have my choice, you might consider a trip to Detroit, because now those use my choice. If you have been going to the Greektown casinos and they're switching, well, you should get credit. I've been to a casino where they switched, and they credited you for your tier status. Sometimes it's probationary, sometimes it's the rules are different, and you might wonder where you're going to land. Like, you could be from a 4-tier system, and then the new one is a 5-tier system, so which one would you be in? I mean, this is no different than 7 stars and diamond status for, it was Total Rewards, now it's Caesars Rewards, and soon to be something else. That would the program itself changed, didn't even leave the rewards program, and this sort of thing happens. So if you're new to that casino and you have my choice, then that they're using it now. If you are not new to that casino, if that's your casino, then you're going to switch over. You should be able to maintain a status. I would hope that they would be generous, because you're their current clientele, and they should treat you right. I hope that they do. So you should see some advantages. I don't think there's too much else to say about switching reward systems. Learn what the new programs are. You might find yourself doing better with your comps, because my choice is big, right? And you could go a lot of different places where before you're kind of like Greektown. So the resources, I mean, that's one of the things I've talked about in my players' rewards. No, this would have been players' rewards advantages, 7 players' advantages for players' clubs for joining one. One of the things that you can do is, let's see, what was it? There's several points that I make in that. If you're in my, right, it costs a lot to have a promotional program for a casino, but it's a small fraction of the revenue for MGM or Caesars. They could be world class easily, but if you're a small tribal casino or you're Greektown, how good can your promotions be? You're limited to where you could be a member. And also, the whole department is just a much smaller group of people. So a lot of thought has gone into making big programs excellent. So I think you should see I don't see any bad. All I see is good. Right. So Dean, Uh, that's an interesting logo. What is sunglasses emoticon? Cool. I guess that's what that means. Okay, I can't speak emoticon as much as I try. Dean asks. Dean asks, can linked progressive slot machines such as Wheel of Fortune or Megabucks be manipulated by the casinos as when to pay out? Oh no. Well, convincing people of this uh, can be difficult. I don't think, no. But let me give you an argument, make a couple of points, which I think you'll see are, there's no way you can mess with megabucks. The reason is a casino cannot mess with megabucks because it's at multiple casinos. And while you might not trust megabucks not to make a deal with a casino, all those different casinos are going to, you can trust those casinos not to let the other casinos, what's a good clean word to use here, take advantage of each other. So they have to have a clean game. I mean, and hopefully that convinces you. The other side of this is the gaming commissions are just, these are tough people. And the risk is so high for casinos. They're making money now. Why would they mess with that when the gaming commission could yank their gaming license and now they have Garth Brooks and that's about it. They have their entertainment venue and they no longer have billions of dollars per month coming and going. I just can never see them messing with that. Megabucks is a system, and they would have to be, what do we call it, a conspiracy with many groups of people. And you know what? What do they say? 3 or more people can't keep a secret. So that's my argument. That's my convincing argument. My certainty of that not being possible is people are looking for that, and they're already making money. It just wouldn't mess with the income. But now things like Wheel of Fortune, Megabucks, for those who don't know, is multi-million dollars across the state in Nevada, maybe even outside of the state. When I was at Miami Valley Gaming in Ohio, a Racino with slot machines, that type in Ohio, if you go to professorslots.com/OH, you'll find my article on Ohio, and it's mentioned there. But when I was there, and I talk about this in my progressive slots strategy, I asked them, why didn't they have networked progressives? I mean, yeah, there was a row of them, multiple rows of them, but I'm like, where's your statewide? Where's your connection to the other casino? Where's your, outside of the state? And you know what they told me? The floor manager in the high limit slots area, what he told me? The liability is just driving them crazy. It takes you 8 hours to get your winnings because they have to contact all the other casinos, let them know somebody won. Then they all want to check. And so it takes 8 hours. That's, well, I'm trying to think where I saw the article. It was some news article about you wait in a back room for 8 hours while they make calls. And that's to verify your jackpot. I mean, you get over $10,000 and you have a floor manager show up at your slot machine, non-progressive slot machine. And they can get it sorted in 20 minutes, but not the progressive stuff. So if you're talking about progressive slot machines, Wheel of Fortune, for instance, which is just a row of machines, is there a way to win on it? And I go over that in my article, Progressive Slot Machines, professorslots.com, and you can, well, let's see. I've got this new feature now. And let's see if I can go back to show you how to kind of move around. So I'm going to click on Professor Slots, go back to the main page, go under blog, which I'm thinking about just changing the articles, go down to strategies. This is a list of all my strategy articles. and flip through this, and shouldn't be long before we get to reliable holiday patterns. Sorry I didn't tell you about that before Thanksgiving, but Christmas is coming up, so you might want to take a look at that one. But if you go to, if you plan on gambling in or around the holidays, winning special events, winning strategies, progressive slot machines, winning strategy 2. So this is that progressive. For those who don't know, and I think most people do, progressive number here is the top jackpot that you might win if you won progressives, and there's different ways to do that. So these are the 4 different types of progressive slot machines using the language of the slot manufacturers. They call them standalone progressives, where it's almost these penny slots that have major and minor. They're kind of standalone. Then you have the in-house, or it might be a row, but it doesn't go outside of the casino. That just means inside the casino, that property. But it could, well, I shouldn't say property, inside that particular facility. Then you have in-chain, which means, any Hollywood casino, perhaps within a state. And then you have wide area, like megabucks. So if you you need to identify which progressive slot machine type, standalone, in-house, in-chain, wide area, and wide area is getting to be less and less because of liability issues, then you need to figure out what is the progressive jackpot, what is this number, and you go multiple trips, and hopefully my voice is keeping up with the video. I think there's maybe a 20-second lag. So I'm showing the progressive jackpot. You need to keep track of that number because it'll go up and down. When you're not at the casino, somebody won, that's why it went down. But it doesn't go to 0, it goes to a low number. And then it has to win by a top number. And sometimes these are only a couple hundred. Everything good? Stream health is back to good, down from excellent. You need to find out what the top number is and the bottom number is. Some of these smaller in-house ones, it might only be $1,000 difference. It might be a $4,000 jackpot, or could even be less. It just bounces between 3,500 low, 3,500 low, 4,000 high, and it has to pay out by the time it goes to the top number. It could pay out immediately, but it's more likely to win if you get to the top, get closer and closer to the top number. And you don't know what that top number is unless you do your research. So go to the casino, go to that slot machine, write down that number, come back the next time you're at the casino, check the number, and maybe tease somebody, plot it out. And figure out how it never goes above this number, never goes below this number, and then you know what the top and the bottom is. And from there, rock and roll. So this goes into different strategies and a long article. Should you play progressive slot machines? Strategies for winning on progressive slot machines. So let's outside of going into a deep dive on that, I'm going to come back to me on the screen and should be able to come back. Oh, right. Clear. Boom. Well, for those of you who are here the last 2 times, I'm making amazing progress in understanding the technical aspects of going live. Now I can show other things. And looks like still going. Stream settings, analytics, excellent. So anybody have another question? Because I've got things to say. If you don't. So I don't know if Catherine's on. I think she planned on being on later. She's going to the Peppermill in Atlantis. So wish her well on her trip. I guess she leaves tomorrow for that. Let's all wish her well. Hopefully we can hear back from her. What's another good thing to do? Yeah. Let me just show you around a bit more. For those of you who might have missed the prior stuff, I'm going to come back to my main page. I need like 2 big monitors, like right up there. So going back to my main page, there is a article. Here is my state by state stuff. There's a summary article, and then there's 56 articles. I spent 3 years on it now, almost. I'm going the third time through, so I'm going to press on the summary article here, and you'll get my online resource, and it kind of walks you through the various things that I'm trying to do here, how it's the third year, and and then this first section here before I get to alphabetically through all the states and sort of a summary of each article and a link to every article. There is this Facebook group, Slots Communities, that I've built for you. And there's interesting groups. If I were to click on what's a fairly big one? Well, the biggest one, of course, is Nevada. And we'll open another window. It will. Oh, I'm not logged in, and I'm not going to show you my password. So if you were to go to all the way at the top here, if you were to go to professorslots.com/online resource. So what I will do is take this and I'll drop it into the chat window. Unfortunately, for those of you who will be watching this later, the chat window that we use during the live event is not the same as the chat window that shows up after. So I've put the link out there during the live event chat, but for those of you who are listening later or watching the video at a later time, the recording, it is professorslots.com/online-resource, and that'll give you a link to all of my state-by-state sites. I think it's a good idea that I don't take you there. You need to become a member because it's private. And everybody's been pretty pleased with that. Not with that we say anything outrageous, but it's a matter of, talking about your slots gambling and not just making it available on Facebook all over the place. It's just us. So, okay. Greener pastures. You're doing great, John. Thank you. If you've been here since the beginning, 2 live streams ago, I think you'll see a serious amount of improvement. If I can keep it up for the next year, that would be awesome. Thank you. I appreciate the support. Anybody out there have cats? I have cats. Anyway, okay, so I'm busy here, okay? Right, so let me get back to it's almost working smoothly at this point. Okay, and there is about a 20-second delay, so once I show up on my monitor that how things are going. Stream health looks good, not excellent. That was a big concern for me. I bounce. If you ever meet me, half the time I talk about what it's like to have a business, and half the time I talk about, so you want to know how to win at slots. Okay, we can do that. So it's fascinating to learn the control system they now have on YouTube and the changes they make and the Facebook rules and just trying to guide the business. I have a business. I'm not making any money at it. It's something I hope to provide resources for you that answers your questions. So, I'm learning more and more what you guys want. It's been an interesting progression. I'm a high limit slots player, and if you want to know how to do all that, I know how to do that. But what I've been learning is to play with $100. Make it last a couple hours, because there's far more people who might be interested in that. Not that I'm ignoring the high limit people, but I'm trying to help the most number of people. And so I'm trying to do both. So whatever your questions are, we can go over it. I'm starting to realize, talking to some of the APs on Twitter and other things, the advantage players on Twitter, um, I've got answers nobody else has. I don't mean to sound arrogant, but I do, and I'm willing to share. Uh, let's see. We are looking decent here. Um, and let me double check to see if there's more questions. Uh, so I think we have. I think we're doing okay with the Q&A. It was definitely an experiment, and it seems to be a good experiment. The experiment seems to be going well. Well enough received. One of the articles. So there is a upcoming events, I guess I should say, article on Harrah's North Kansas City. Shortly, the 2020 version of American Casino Guide. Let me just grab that for you. This is the 2019 version. It is through about here. Let's see. Through there is some articles that go about 100 pages. Then you go to Alabama, and that goes all the way to the end, which is Wyoming here. They don't do the states, which doesn't have some form of gambling. I do. And that's one of the reasons why I think I should write a book like this every year. It's one of my goals. And that's what I want to try to talk about with you now. But then they also have these coupons. If you never get to Las Vegas, I don't know how much it would help you, but if you get to Las Vegas, you might get 10% off all Guinness merchandise at the due to the coupon here. So at the Guinness store, stuff like that. And there's also South Point and Tacos and Rita's and Prime Burger and Rock House, and it isn't just Las Vegas, but it does seem to be Laughlin as well, and so other places, Prim, other places in Nevada primarily. So if you get out that way, it's a good resource, and I do mention it is one of my 7 top online resources for slots gamblers. But they're coming out with the new year, the 2020 version. I believe it's about a week from now that they're actually going to make it available. You can pre-order now on Amazon. If you go to there, yes. So if you go to any of my articles on the side here under recommendations, would be the 2020 version of, and I'll click on that for you. We'll go there, and this is the 2020 American Casino Guide, and we can look right at free shipping. $19.99. This title will be released on December 15th, 2019. So one day off. It was 8 days from now. When that comes out, I've already ordered it, and it's paperback only. And when it comes in, a week later should have a review for you. So another 2 weeks or so, I should have an article and a podcast and all that about my latest review. I do it every year for several things. One of them being the American Casino Guide, to see what's changed, what's new, and it's a valuable resource, I think. And coming back to you, I'll have to check later to see how well this flipping back and forth is working for you. Right. So that's a useful resource, and they're coming out with a new version in 8 days. So if you want to go to any of my pages except my main page, you'll find a link to that resource, and you can pre-order now like I have and get it. Particularly if you want to go to Nevada, and some of the articles they're okay. I review it. You'll see what I mean when I talk about it next time at the podcast, or you come to my website. If you sign up to my email list at professorslots.com/subscribe, then you'll be informed when that is released. Whatever particular, I send out an email for the week on Saturdays, and you'll be directed right to it. Or you can just find me later. Right. So questions. Let me double check that on the live stream. Okay, so Greener Pastures has a question or statement. Throughout your gambling career, would you say you've won more than you've lost? Sorry. Yes. But I've had a lot of thoughts about this. If you look at my last Advantage article on Advantage Plays, you'll see that I'm like, well, you can make more than you. What's your goal? What's your gambling goal? Making more than you lose? $10 more? Is that acceptable? I mean, my goal was, by day I'm an aerospace engineer. Frankly, it pays well. I mean, not as much as you could do with some other stuff, but it, low six figures. So that allows me to have a YouTube channel and the equipment necessary to do all that. But I wasn't making six figures. I mean, how do I put this? And I talk about this in my book, and I even post the jackpots, and I talk about totals and amounts, and that's all in the book. What I'm trying to convey here is if you go to my website and I'll switch over to that because I think this is an important discussion. I'll come back to the main page. If you go under identifying your gambling goals, and there it is. So let me go back. So if you are on the main page and you go to here, identifying your gambling goals, I think the biggest population of people who play slots are looking to have entertainment. Based on your statement, win more than you've played. I'm not sure what you are. I'm trying to help. I assume whatever somebody wins at a casino, they're going to play. But I'm trying to get it so that they win a little bit more, so they can play a little bit longer. I'm trying to help them stretch their dollar, because I think the largest population of demographic, whatever you want to call it, segment of slots players is to be an entertainment gambler. So you can see right here, there's three types: entertainment, complimentary gifts, and take-home money. So let me come back to you, and that's the identifying gambling goals. So yes, I won as far as W2Gs, hand pays. I documented all that. I made basically my aerospace engineering salary per year. 2 years in a row. That's what I was focused on doing. Third year, I wrote a book, Learning to Win, because I came to the conclusion that all the effort that I was putting in, I calculated the number of hours. I knew how long I was at the casino per week, and I plotted and graphed and put all that in. And I'm like, it's like writing a book. Authors who, it takes 6 months to write a book, you might write 2 books. When I looked into that, I was shocked to find out that these authors might make $30,000 a year. And that's all they do every day is write. If they're not a bestseller, they're only selling like 17,000 copies. They might not even get through their royalty check. And this is high success level. So, making $30,000 a year for those authors is kind of sad. And I know I've talked to people about, the 5 figures that I've won, being very general here. I can't ever take it back if you tell. But the 5 figures that I've made, and it wasn't low 5 figures, for profit, not revenue, for profit. Revenue was equal, very, very close to my aerospace engineering salary, but profit was about a third. and of the revenue. And I thought that was wonderful. 130% payout return personally for the way that I played at these casinos where I'd figured out how to win and wrote it all down. And if you wanted to be an author, maybe that's wonderful. Maybe you work at a McDonald's minimum wage and $30,000 is great. But I'm like, I got student loans to pay. I have all these degrees, but I'm just, it dies with me. My family isn't going to inherit my student loan debt, but there's a cap, and I went past it. And I thought, well, be the responsible guy so that every taxpayer in America doesn't have to pay a dime or a penny, on my debt someday. I want to be able to pay my debt. And so I thought I would use what I got from my debt, my student loans, to pay for it. And I know it's a long-winded answer, but yeah, I made a 30% profit, 130% if you want to calculate it that way. I got back what I paid into it plus another 30%. That's how much I won. It was unacceptable. It might not be unacceptable for you, but maybe your gambling goal is to have entertainment. That's a lot of entertainment. But I'm like, I'd like to do 200%, not 130%. That's minimum. Can I do that? Because I calculated the number of hours that I spent in a casino to win as much as I had won. And I figured out that I would have to work close to 100 hours, 90 hours per week just doing that. And I might achieve what I already had with my day job. And I'm like, son of a gun. So my advantage play here is maybe I can help the country learn about business practices, how to take advantage of casinos, and charge them some small amount, which I have not started to do. Well, it's like $17, $18 for the book. That's not what I'm going to be doing. But I've just transitioned over to, it looks like this is not going to be a hobby. It looks like it's going to be a business. I need to turn it into one. I'm going to have online courses. I don't mean to say that I have it ready, but in the next year, I'm going to start being involved in Patreon. I'll explain later what that is. Special videos for people who join that. None of this is set up yet, but you're going to start seeing some things where I will tell you more details, prepare a package that would allow me to make a dent in my student loans and give potentially the country, how to win at casinos, playing slots. Long-winded answer. Let me double check. Where is my mouse? Come on, mouse. Let's see. Dean Joel, what's your favorite high-limit room casino in Vegas? Mandalay Bay. I went on a trip to Las Vegas, one of the Silver Stars annual trip, 4th of July weekend. I like the 4th of July weekend. And I just won 2 jackpots totaling $14,000 a few days before at the casino. What? Is that hard? Sorry. That's terrible to say that. So right before the trip to Las Vegas, and I thought, okay, I'll take $10,000 with me. Not a care in the world about taking that much cash through TSA or anything like that. It's been that was 2014. No, 2014, 2015. And I've learned a few things since then about being careful. In any case, I went to Las Vegas, stayed on the Strip, Caesar's Palace, got the room, $500 room credit, $800 and $100 vouchers, all the free stuff from the promotions counter, and I was just short line, Diamond Lounge, which served alcohol. Mine didn't in Cincinnati when it was Horseshoe, and did that whole thing. I'm not a big fan of Las Vegas, honestly. I went and saw a UFC fight, 134, got my daughter a shirt. She says it's the most comfortable shirt she's ever worn. Angry faces on it. But I had tequila for the first time. What do they call them? Margaritas. First one, second one, and Las Vegas was better after that, but I don't think that's a usable solution. In any case, I took my $8,000. No, sorry, $4,000. I did take that much more, but I bought some stuff. I have a nice cowboy hat around here somewhere and some cowboy boots. Just lovely. But I spent $4,000, $500 increments at 8 different high limit rooms on the strip just to see what would happen. This is me spending money to help you understand what's going on. Would I normally have done that? No, but I wanted to know. I was curious. This is where I spend my winnings. The 30% of my day job income was what I kept despite spending money. I didn't spend all my profit. I kept 30%, but I spent a certain amount. Might have been about 30%. So theoretically, I didn't actually document. I didn't save 60%. I spent 30% on just learning more. Who can say whether or not that additional 30% that I learned wasn't actually going back into winning more? So I went to Las Vegas and I went to 8 high limit slots rooms, and I found out what terrible looks like. Caesars, there was an old guy who told me he had met Frank Sinatra. There was nobody else in the room. The slot machines were old. They had little LED lights going across it instead of any sort of touch screens. And I'm like, slowly realizing that that's not the place to be. So I go to another one and another one and another one. And the last one I went to was further down the strip, Mandalay Bay. I walk into the high limit area. Have you been there? Walked in the high limit area, and I looked around, and there was a floor manager stationed there, a desk, a stand-up desk, with a couple of slot attendants, and I'm like, wow, and there's people playing. I'm like, this is not what I saw elsewhere. Walk up to them, and I said, hey, I encourage you to do this. Walk up to them and say, hey, anybody winning any jackpots? Yeah, we've had about 12 so far today. This is like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 4th of July weekend. Forget which day. They were written down somewhere. I'm like, really? And they just point past me. Oh, look, there's another one. This is what you watch for. I love Mandalay Bay. And it was my last stop. I had $500 and it wasn't enough to win because maybe I should have played the dollar machine or the $2 machine or the $5 machine, but I was making $15 bets and I went through my $500 way too fast. Another lesson, which is if you want to see if you have a chance, you need to make about 100 bets, 120 bets. Stop if it's going terribly, but you need to give the machine a chance to run. And $500 was not enough in a high limit room. If I'd started there, if I'd started it on the other end of the strip with my $4,000, well, I'd be telling a different story, but I might not know all this. So I probably made more money from learning this than I lost, I hope. Okay. If I break even, I'm a winner. Greener Pastures says. Great. Like I said, I'm trying to understand the motivation of my audience, of you guys. What's your goal? Breaking even, you're a winner. Awesome. One of the things is I talk to people like my internet lawyer, right? He's like, well, we'll get you set up with terms and conditions, privacy policy, since I'm in Ohio, would you like to come up to Cleveland sometime and maybe walk me through all this? And I'm like, sure. And I'm like, so what kind of gambler are you? And I play slots, he says. And I'm like, okay, do you want to make money? Are you there for entertainment? Do you want the comps? And he's like, oh, I definitely want to make money. He was such an entertainment gambler. A little bit of self-knowledge here. So I think most people are entertainment gamblers, and I'm trying to write articles that help them. Oh, Ron Miller asks if I consider myself a professional gambler. Fascinating question. I looked into this. No. Why? Because it doesn't happen. There are no professional gamblers in the world who play slots. Why? Well, maybe in the world. In the United States, there is not. Because the IRS will audit you if you say that you play slots and that you're a professional gambler. They will take you to court. Right? Look it up. Google it. They will take you to court, and in order to convince the judge that you make money at slots, which everybody knows is random and you can't win at, true before 2012, more or less, you would have to convince the judge. And one of the examples that they gave was you would have to show proof. Like, say, you wrote a book on how to win at slots. That would work. And apparently I could tell the IRS that I'm a professional gambler that plays slots. They'll audit me. I'll go to court. I'll convince the judge because, ta-da, there's the book, which explains everything logically and business practices and all of that. So I'm technically not a professional gambler, and I have not chosen to go to the court with IRS. I'm sure that's all very expensive. And no, I don't fit the criteria for what the IRS calls a professional gambler. But this is like saying I'm not an advantage player. I'm not a traditional advantage player. We talked about this the last time. Last time we had live Q&A. I'm not a traditional advantage player, but I'm totally taking advantage. I'm a player that takes advantage. So am I a professional gambler? I am a businessman. I know how much I can make playing slot machines, and it didn't meet my requirements to be able to give up my day job. So you decide whether or not I'm a professional gambler. I would say no, because I don't fit the IRS definition. I could make it happen. I'm confident. If I had the money to pay the lawyer, what would it be, $20,000, $30,000? Every court appearance is a minimum of $5,000 or something. It would all just be hard. And for what? When I do my taxes, I don't do this Schedule C. I have a business and I have business expenses. That's one side of things. That's not where I do my gambling deductions. My gambling deductions are personal, like most non-professional gamblers, and works fine by me. Now, again, long-winded answer. And what other questions do you have? I think just to review here, if somebody tells you, one of the things I start the book off with is, if someone tells you, if you say, how's it going? Talking to a slots player in a casino, how's it going? Meaning, how are they doing? Are they winning more than they're losing? And if they say, breaking even, or I'm doing okay, they don't know what they're doing. They haven't, they're not keeping track. They don't have gambling records. I have an article on keeping good gambling records. Things that would be not only what you need for tax preparation, but the additional notes that you might want to take to sort of take a look at how your performance is, like the number of hours you spend at a casino. IRS doesn't care about that. But if you were to start winning, you might say, well, how do I scale this up? And other ways to look at things from that professional aspect, advantage player, professional gambler approach. If you wanted to do all that, you need to actually have records, because the people that look at you and don't tell you how they're doing, those are the ones that know. They're just not going to tell you. And the ones who say, I'm breaking even, who knows what they're doing? They don't know. Looks like we might have managed to get through this without not managed to get through this, but I don't know if you know this, but I'm driven. So now that we've got other things besides my image, and I can show some screens and other stuff, I'll be doing a little bit more of that, and maybe put my image in the corner or something, because I push. I'm happy to have this set up now, and with a little more technical expertise at using the system live. It's very hard to test not being live. I don't mean to get into the technical stuff again, but you need at least 100 subscribers on your YouTube channel to try it out. And I didn't want to try it out and you get a notification and then go, what? Was that like a, fake me out? And I just can't start a YouTube channel and try it. I have to go live and manage it Saturdays, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And that's it for this. session. We will be back here. I will be back here on Saturday, 2 p.m. A week from today. That would be the 14th on Saturday. I haven't really looked to see what the next week after that, 14th, 21st, 28th. Okay, looks like we're going to miss major holidays on a Saturday, so we should be good to go. I wouldn't want anybody to show up on a major holiday. So thank you so much for your attendance. Thank you so much for your questions. Please, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will, so you get updates, and maybe visit my website and take a look around. There's valuable stuff there, I think, that might help you. Good day, and have a wonderful weekend.